I've forgotten everything.
I do it just in time to catch release.
Get the red circle.
I know you're eating. I was frantically eating before you got here so that I could get us started on time so we can honor our time together.
She actually started, she stayed, and she actually stayed the last hour, but I had to leave, I was sleeping my soul on that, and just had more weight than muscle her. She wanted to go for it, yeah.
Hey, Mark.
That's what I always do after our.
You sitting here?
Yeah.
You are full jerk.
That's what I'll do, is spend the whole day. Right.
Okay, to help Rebecca with her note taking, welcome everybody. And if we could go around the room and just remind, so we get to see each other once a month. Some of us we see a lot, because there are some of you are on a lot of our committees.
You're looking at me.
And I see you more than I see my family. So if we could start with you, Mark, if you don't mind.
Mark Worthing, Lakeland teacher, 25 years, Rutland City Councilor, retired. John Brown.
He tried his hand at administrating for a
I
short
tried it
period
for
of
3
time.
years, but then I missed teaching times tables. But I do remember that Lisa was very organized. I asked her to borrow a Hawaii map once, and she said, in the closet. Walks over about halfway down. I got in there, and it's right there.
Doesn't surprise me.
I remember the year you taught at Gary Kiefer and your Naga High couch ended up on the play structure outside.
And I have one other thing to remember. Kids would ask me sometimes to open their thermos of hot soup. I have short fingers. I just have at least a boom. I don't know if you remember that.
We've been working together for a long
Yeah.
time. Okay, Mary.
Mary Conrad, Benfield Elementary, currently teaching NLP and others things, 34 years.
Going strong.
Yeah.
I'm Jessica Daner. I'm the Director of Transportation, and I also have 2 kids in the district, Lakeland Middle and Lakeland High School.
We're grateful you're here tonight because we couldn't do our first agenda item without you.
Randy Baines, School Board Trustee.
And former parent.
Former parent.
All right, you are a
I'm
parent.
still a parent.
Of a former THS. And now she's working for us. And she works for
And
us.
she does work for the district now.
I'm John Harris, second-time visitor to the meetings, parent, not a member of the school administration. I'm a businessman, business owner, American capitalist, father of a 7th grader.
Nice. At Lakeland Middle School?
Yep, right over there, as a crow flies.
Nate Butter, parent of a first grader in Apple, and another one next year.
Oh, sorry, Kate.
Kate Forsman, I have 2 kids in the district, and thank you to whoever keeps making dinner.
That's
Rebecca.
Yes, thank you. But if we're gonna ask you to be here at 5:30, which is dinner time, we need to keep you. Plus then you're more apt to come if you know it's gonna be good food.
You're more apt to be
It's
positive.
me.
Okay, Anita.
Anita Dukes, the community member.
Jenny Feld, I have 2 kids, sophomore and 7th grader, the middle school and high school.
Erica,
I've been in the district and lived here for a long time.
Erica Yeager, I have a 6th grader at Lakeland Middle School and a freshman at Lakeland High School.
Rebecca, the one who cooks for all of you.
thank you. One of her many cats.
I really don't want to follow Rebecca. I have read Lisa all the time.
Leon Dews, School, and I'm the city administrator for the city of Rockland.
Darrell Wallace, Finance Operations Director for the district, and Steve at Lakewood High.
Okay, so, we have one thing for sure we need to get dialed in tonight, and then if we can start talking about, so our 1-year plan, which is really about our attendance zones for next year, kind of a 2 to a 3-year plan, and then a 5-year plan. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. If you have a different way you want to think about it, we can definitely have that conversation. We are finally only a week away from the levy. Levies, please remember to vote. We are trying to increase voter turnout on that date. So,
How are we doing that?
well, we've sent out 4 flyers that have been mailed home, so that hopefully there's not a single person in this district who doesn't know that we're running an election on March 14th.
The principals all have been sending it out in their newsletters and their correspondence with their families.
And then we've asked each of our staff members to communicate with 5 community members, whether that's neighbors or people they know within the community, to remind them to vote.
What's the reception been like with this?
We've had monthly meetings at lots of different places across the district. We've had, in all the meetings that we have done, we've had one person who was concerned about the levy just because he is not making a lot of money right now and is worried about the taxes. So we were empathetic and definitely heard what he had to say. And he kind of pushed us a little bit and said, what's gonna happen if it doesn't pass? And I said, well, we don't talk about it not passing. Or he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm not going to do anything, because the board will have to make some tough decisions about whether they want to rerun it and look at what we're asking for and what we're gonna cut. Or they could say, the community has spoken and this is what we're doing, and the reality then is we're cutting $9.52 million worth of salaries from our budget, and that's people, and those people then would be unemployed in our community. And he was like, oh. And then he turned around and said, well, I just want you to know I'm really supportive of Lakeland. You moved here because of the Lakeland School District. So it ended up, I felt like he's trying to balance what he thinks he can afford and what he wants to do, because he does support our district. Other than that, everybody's been really positive. I've not heard a single negative thing. We have KCRCC supporting us, the Idaho Parents' Rights and Education supporting us, the Radford Chamber put out a supportive post. So lots of community groups are standing with us. So
Is CUNY putting out their thing that they usually put out every election?
They're not.
Oh, they're not.
Oh, they're not.
They're not, because it's just a single, essentially, only because I'm part of the KCRCC. There's pretty much just a single issue thing, but let me tell you something, this district in this panhandle is really being held up as something that they want people to try to strive towards. I've been to a lot of meetings, and Lakeland is not perfect, that's what I always say, but we're doing something right here. And it's being noticed in the panhandle, so.
But it is their support is on their website, and so if people
Yes.
go to their website to kind of get a sense of how to vote, they will see that they're supporting the levies for Lakeland School District. What are you guys hearing in the community? Are you hearing anything?
Well, I'm just hearing tons about it, Fort Wayne.
I feel like last time when we ran the levy, there was a lot of negative stuff that I saw on social media, and I haven't seen anything negative about it this go around. I haven't seen a whole lot of information about it on there, but I haven't seen anything negative.
And that's the reason why I said is because on social media, you don't really see anything.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot for Coeur d'Alene, and I know that Post Falls has their signs up everywhere. And my sister did say, what are we doing to make sure everybody's going that direction? I said, well, I think they've been talking a lot with a lot of different people.
Yep. we've been.
But she was concerned, so that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, so we have our Facebook page and we are definitely posting, we've posted our flyers, we've posted information about the levies. So it's out there. Jackie just posted, I think, our most recent flyer on our Facebook page, and there was one comment from somebody who, very supportive of the school district, but frustrated that the state won't meet their constitutional obligation and actually fully fund education. And that was mostly what his comment was about, but not negative in any way about the district. So, I don't know, it's quiet.
Tell everybody you know, go vote.
I'll start.
I will send out a Skylar to the parents in our district on Monday to remind them to vote, Tuesday. And then, all of our principals will send our staff home after the kids leave to vote, so that they have the opportunity to do that. Our seniors who are 18, if they want to, can, vote. They can leave school with parent permission to go vote during their government class. So that would encourage, personally, I think it's the greatest gift we have as American citizens, is the right to have a voice in our government, and we have our voice is the loudest in our local elections, and so to teach our kids to take advantage of that and have a lot of respect for that right, I think is important, so they will have that opportunity. Do you have ideas of things that you think we should be doing? It'll be on all of our reader boards. Leon's gonna put it on the city reader board that's on Highway 41, so people will see it there.
Okay.
Are there gonna be people out with the
No, we are not.
No signs.
I did not like asking our teachers to do that, especially when things were pretty negative in the district. People would drive by and flip people off and yell obscenities at them, and they were standing out there in freezing cold or pouring rain. And we had our kids out there, and I don't like using our kids as pawns in an election, so we are not. We're just going to hope that we've given our community enough information, and that they can vote based on what they feel is best for the community and their families.
The last flyer that went out, I've enjoyed all the ones, but this one was really good, and especially when you got down to the bottom, and looked at the high school graduation rates. That was impressive.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I saw that too.
I was trying, that was intentional, we saved all of the good stuff for right before the election, because I wanted them to see what they should be celebrating, whether they have kids in Lakeland or not. Because when you have a strong school district, you have strong communities, with lower, crime rates, because we have high graduation rates, and so all of those things. The message from the superintendent this time was not as a school official, but as a parent and a patron, and that
It was very personable, and I like that, you know, it was, yeah.
I'm glad that came across, because that was the lens through which I wrote it, so.
Well, it's important for newer people in the district to know your history with the district. You are kids.
I made a conscious decision to move my kids to this district, because we were the loudest staff at that time to bring our kids unless we lived here, so.
You said those have been going to all parents?
All
Or-
homes.
I don't think I've gotten any of them. And I
Where's
have
your
a Hayden
address?
address. I have a Hayden address.
Oh,
That's why.
I wondered.
We just hand wrote addresses on envelopes for Stimson Loop, because somebody brought that attention, which is out in Hayden, off of Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, we're at Hayden North, like 95 and Lancaster.
So if we were to send them to Hayden, we can't differentiate Lakeland, it would go out to everybody in Hayden.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money going to.
Oh, yeah,
total school district.
Totally. But I was like, I don't think I've gotten a single.
That's why I think.
So we were
in the-
trying to
Yeah.
figure out how we could.
Yeah, in the Facebook post that Jackie just posted, she said, if you did not receive one of these,
Okay.
here's
I'll
here's
go back and
this.
look at it.
You can email Rebecca and she'll send you an electronic copy, or we have a whole bunch.
We have an extra one, you know?
Yeah, there's
Each
one.
of them to their-
Well, Hayden North, that's.
Yes.
Hayden North.
Yes. Yes.
Do you need somebody to handwrite envelopes or anything like that?
You know, I don't even know if this is the appropriate place to do this, but I am willing to, because I'm willing to grab some of those and walk. I would walk your neighborhood for you on Saturday. I'm willing to do that, and I don't know if there's anybody else that knows somebody that might wanna do it, but to me, it's that important, so if you guys haven't been reached, I don't know how many of those flyers you have, but I am more than happy to, I will walk that neighborhood, it's where the apartments are, and then the whole kind of newish. I will do that I can do that. So I will get something to.
I will give you some
That would be
time.
amazing. I don't know if I can join you the entire time, but I might be able to walk. But we've got a lot of kids in that neighborhood.
I just looked at the weather, it's supposed to snow, but that's okay. I will be out, I'll start at 10 o'clock.
Though still must have pretty good about shoveling our sidewalks.
Okay. So I'll touch bases with you, and maybe if you might have a neighbor, I mean, even if you do 1 block.
Mhm.
That would be enough to just get them.
Okay, cool. Yep.
I thought it was a good flyer too, by the way. That your message was really good. Coming to a parent, I thought it was right on. And I really liked the listing of the new curriculum. It gave me the feeling that here's the curtain, we're gonna open it, here's the curricular. There's no surprise after we pass this, you know, that there's some, you know.
Crazy thing.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. That's the one and only thing I hear when I'm talking to folks, is that it was just so long as they don't.
And that's been our message. We had a cookies and conversation on Friday, this last Friday night at Rapture Bible Church here in town. It was the best attended of all of the hours, and I don't know if it was because it was a Friday night, but we probably had 30-ish people there. And they asked some really, really good questions, and they have a lot of those same kinds of concerns. We just want to protect our kids. I think parents have gotten to the point now where they want to go back to like the 1970s, 1980s that we all grew up in, where we were pretty sheltered and protected from a lot of what was happening in the world. You know, we were outside playing and using our imagination. We weren't tied to a phone. We didn't have to think about some of these crazy things that are out there right now that our kids are having to sift through and try to understand. And that's what parents want, is they want to be able to go back to those days and really kind of shelter kids from those topics, so that parents can direct the narrative in the home. And that's what we're committed to trying to help with. So.
Got our
Well, thank you. Okay.
That's
Mic
two.
drop. That's right. That's right, because I'm voting. Okay. So, Jessica, I'm going to turn this over to you a little bit, but our goal today is to come to some sort of a consensus with regard to what is going to be our recommendation to the board for changing attendance boundaries, where are those changes going to be, so that we can get John Brown's enrollment up to somewhere around 450, somewhere between 400 and 450. Really with our focus on decreasing Garwood. And that might be that there's a circular motion across this part of the district where we're shifting some kids from Garwood to Twin, and then from Twin to John Brown, or Hauser, Betty Kiefer, Twin, like what is that gonna look like? We need to think about what makes the most sense for transportation, since we don't have bus drivers going out to do work.
Yeah, we just lost
We
another
just
two
lost
this
another
last
one.
week.
Oh, two.
What's the current boundary for John Brown?
It's right here.
I noticed it looked pretty
Behind the
small.
side.
on the map.
Oh, it's so tight. It's like that little triangle right there.
Yeah, so it's basically, what is that, Meyer Road?
Yep.
Oh, it goes to Meyer then.
Meyer
Okay.
Road,
Oh, I
down
see.
to Nagel, Bagel, and then,
4th Street.
and
is there.
then this is 53.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really,
Pretty confined.
everybody who goes to John Brown is within a mile and a half of the school, because we don't have any busing for John
Mhm.
Brown. So it's very small.
So we have to consider that tonight as well.
Right, if we're
Because we
gonna,
have to
yeah,
provide
if
transportation.
we're gonna increase, yeah, we're for sure gonna have to run routes. So, Jessica, we'll let you pull up your trans finder. So just as a kind of a refresher, I don't know if everybody was here last time, but we talked about, I think, 3 different scenarios. One was Brookshire, one was Highway 53 west of Ramsey, and Deerfield. And then one was Hauser, the other half of Hauser, busing to John Brown. And then, there's a little area behind Granny's Pantry back there that the majority, I think there are like 5 kids there, and 3 or 4 of them already go to John Brown because their zone transferred in, but making that part of the John Brown zone. So that's,
Was John Brown originally, and Deerfield, and I think it's, was that at the same time?
yeah, when
Well,
we
I
changed
know
everything for.
When I was in 2nd grade, when we first moved here, it was in 2000, we lived up just past Sturgeon Road on Twin Lakes Avenue, and we went to John Brown. And then, I think that next year we got zoned for urban.
Okay.
So that used to be.
All right, so I'm gonna let
Okay.
you take over and I'm gonna sit over here. So today we have to get to the nitty gritty of the numbers and make sure that what we're talking about is gonna work.
Open up another, I wanna see, something real quick, the walk zone for, John Brown.
I'll just get us on the other side of the highway, they're walking.
Well, there's zone transfer, so if they're not
So they
working
have-
here, it's
okay.
driving. Cause there's a zone.
But we wouldn't necessarily want elementary walking. I know they've got the,
Only if they go, there's a crossing
I know,
guard right
I know
there,
it.
under the, that goes through
Right.
the town. Is there a crosswalk close to that?
there's only the one crosswalk in the tunnel.
I haven't seen a crossing guard, is there still a crossing guard there, or did they take that crossing guard?
It's, they have a light, there's a guard there.
There's not a guard on.
Not a guard on
Highway
Not a guard on
53
it.
right now.
There's not.
Because we don't have enough guards.
We don't have enough guards.
Does the school pay for those, or does the city?
We split them.
We split, some of them we split, and then we have 2 that the school district fully funds, cause we tried to, we were struggling to get, I mean, it's not a fun job. They're out there and the days split, you know, they do the morning and then they've gotta come back into the afternoon, and so that's challenging, but, we have some really dedicated people who have been doing a really good job for us, but we weren't getting applicants, so then we went to our schools and asked, principals to add time to paras days, and then kind of, but we have paras who have said, if you're gonna make me do that, I'll just quit, I don't wanna do it, so it's challenging.
Isn't it Betty Kiefer in the high school that have the fully funded through the school district as their crossing guard? The ones at STCU, Joaquin, and then the one that crosses 4153 by McDonald's. Those are the ones that are.
Those are shared.
Those are shared.
Are there very many kids that cross 53 at where the tunnel is? Do we have very many kids that even do that walk? Because 53 it's busy.
No, we've got, from what I have seen, there's very limited that cross there, but we do have the flashing lights.
Yeah.
Not everybody stops for those, which is what's dangerous. But there is a limited number. I think most parents that live on the other side prefer to drive their kids or
all the time, so.
Except for maybe a few of the teenagers walking
We
around.
could include quite a bit more into John Brown.
As a walking area?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is over by Betty Kiefer. It's pretty cool.
That's a mile and a half,
Yeah, it's pretty
that
cool
blue
too.
line.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, I mean, we have problems when we go into a subdivision that surrounds a school and pull the kids out
Yeah.
of that subdivision and make them walk to another school. That is a problem.
Yeah, but like on the other side of the highway, since there's a tunnel, I mean, if we can guarantee that there's a crossing guard there, they would be, and you also have to take into consider, like with the transportation side of things, if a student is within a mile and a half of the school, there's, paperwork and requirements that those stops have to meet, and then they're considered safety busing, and it's due because there's no sidewalks, or there's no crossing guards, or the speed limit's too high, and then we have to bus those kids anyway. So I think pretty much every single one of our schools has safety busing to some extent that, is within the mile and a half, but we still have to transport them.
Well, so, can I ask you a question that, this has nothing to do with Garwood, but since they put the stoplight at Nagel and 41 with the, the crosswalk there, there's no, crossing guard, but definitely cars are stopped. Does that mean that we can't do safety busing from Radiant Lake in those areas over to Betty Kiefer anymore?
Depends on what the other scores are. So I think the speed limit's still 45 right there, which ups it pretty good
Okay.
on that yearbook
That's
that I
4
have to
lanes,
use.
it's not like it's.
Yeah, that would still, I'm sure, qualify for
Okay,
safety.
I was hoping that would be the case, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't think.
And that would like detrimentally cut our routes by not transporting them. I mean, we pick up hundreds of kids in there. Yeah.
Okay, so. There's the potential to do increase some walking routes, I think is what
On the
you're
other
saying.
side, and that would be from Twin Lakes over here.
But how many kids are we talking that we would pull? Is that all within walking distance?
Well, that's Reservoir Road, yeah. Total of 39 students. And that could be middle school, high school, too.
Right. Is there a way for us to tell which ones are elementary? I'm just gonna write, keep notes up here so we know kind of.
So then those are twin kids right now, right?
Mm-hmm. So there's 13 selected, and then 3 kindergartners, so 16 students from Twin Lakes to John Brown.
How many of them are already going to John Brown?
There's one kid there.
Just one.
I think you know what you're doing with this, little clicks.
2, 3, 4, 5 of them already go to John Brown.
Okay, so it's actually an increase of 11.
And many of them look younger, like,
Yeah, they're little, so.
they're little, so they would be able to potentially stay through.
Yeah,
Oh,
it would be a long.
Yeah, it'd be worth it in the long run to move them.
We rewrite it.
I did.
But it would, I would
There's two
imagine
fourth
it
grade.
would be
Thank you for watching me.
busing that.
Actually, it's
Well, these
11,
would be
there's
walk
5
zones.
students
Yeah,
that
it would be
are
considered.
going around.
Thanks for checking my math.
You're usually the one that's good at the
I
mental
don't
math.
know what's going on there. Okay.
The
I
end
got
of the
stuck.
Monday.
Okay, so that would be 11 from there.
Okay.
And what's their current enrollment? Jake said
Except
John
that-
Brown?
John Brown's at like 270, I think.
Oh, so that's quite a few kids that need to be taken down.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the same with Brookshire?
And they currently are Garwood kids, right? Kindergartners. That's really good.
Brand new,
So, is all
housing.
kindergartners?
Those are the last two ones that
One.
you grew.
Oh, I see.
First grade.
So that would be 57 elementary students from Brookshire. That would populate the Garwood.
Okay, and then we wanted to look at Deerfield.
Are they all at Garwood already?
Yeah, they're at Garwood.
There's one up there.
Two that are.
Oh.
Twin Lakes.
So one's at John Brown.
There's a few there.
5 veterans. And some of these might be teachers
Yeah, so.
or staff members that
I was gonna say, if they're
transfer.
transferring out of Garwood to Twin, they're probably gonna continue to transfer to Twin.
Yeah.
So that's how many then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that would go, so this would be 51.
Good job.
You can start the affirmation then. Okay, how about Deerfield?
Are we counting fifth graders, cause they're gonna age out to middle school next year?
It's a good thought.
Yeah, and some of that is hard, because then you'll have kindergartners maybe coming in, so.
I would just leave it.
It is sort of a snapshot in time.
Okay.
Yeah,
20.
but if there's a huge amount, you may wanna say, okay, it's not gonna be quite as much as we think. Good point.
Two Spirit League.
Betty Kiefer is a staff.
Okay.
Okay, so how many did you say?
-3, so 17.
17. And those are.
So it's even a fifth grader, so he'll go to.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other one we looked at was,
Highway
neighborhood, behind Lions Club is gonna have some people in there. Let's see, we didn't include the students on Ramsey though, I don't think.
No.
Just east of it, okay. Those.
You're just doing the north side of Highway 53. Cause there are a few roads out there that run that south end too. Just if you wanted to get.
What rooms?
Like Singer, is that what you're thinking, off of 52?
Well, I'm trying to think of those roads. I think Singer's across from Fowler.
Yeah, so like Fowler, Atlas, Sitka, Mountain.
Rancho
As far
Road
as
maybe.
Atlas.
Yeah,
Is
it'd
that
be the
Ranch
whole
Valley?
north side of 53, I can, Radian is the next one, I'll go back to the map.
Well, just because if you're having one bus route run out and then run back, you might as well pick up both sides of the highway, everybody, all the kids on both sides there.
Yeah, and there's
Rather
really
than
not that
have-
many on the south side, we can add those in too.
What should Garwood be at?
Trying to get Garwood down 400, 450, and just trying to, that's about where the other schools are.
To go to John Brown
And
already.
it's at 490.
So 64 minus 2.
Minus 2, so 62.
So this is Highway 53.
So Garwood to
John Brown.
those would be John Brown.
62. Garwood to John Brown. Okay, and then the other one that we've talked about was the Hauser.
Okay. Was that all of Hauser?
It's half of Hauser, it's the half that goes to currently to Betty Keeper. We talked about.
Sounds like Hollister Hills, is that?
So Hollister is,
So it's basically state line to whatever that cutoff road is.
So it's like right up to that corner.
Can you pull up, from Brian's projection sheet?
He is right now.
Brian talked about that. Can
Yeah, I gotta find it.
you tell me what the projected enrollments are for next year?
Oh, the projected enrollment?
You have it?
Yeah.
They go way back in there, yeah.
that is, I just found that's what.
I would like, I think.
So when
That
we
is
call
narrow.
snow days because the roads are bad,
That's why.
Thanks, Hauser.
Is it just Hauser or is it after Mountain too?
Hauser, Rimrock,
Yeah.
Choco Road.
But we have snow routes up there,
Yeah,
which helps a lot.
Yeah, people always say, the roads are great in Rathdrum, but we don't just serve Rathdrum well.
Yeah.
So we are projecting Garwood to get 500 kids on the nose,
Okay,
and they're like 488,
what about the rest? So what's Betty Keeper?
387,
Apple,
291,
John Brown,
266,
Spirit Lake,
294.
Twin.
Twin is 383, but that includes 36 preschoolers.
Okay. So So,
Do you wanna take off preschool though, since it's not apples to apples?
yeah, let's take the preschool. So 30, minus 36, so 47.
47.
And Twin is designed to have 2 classes per grade levels, as far as their space. So if we got them back to that where they only had 2, so they're not teaching in some of their other rooms that they need for other things, what would that, it's usually around 300, right?
Yeah, the challenge obviously is they have the big kindergarten class, there's 64 kids there right now. So you have 3, if you just keep the kindergartens there, roll into first grade, they're gonna roll through. Yeah, so.
Right, and so I'm just.
Right, if you're gonna move that boundary, and then,
And remember, Twin was the one building where we added multiple teachers this year because of those, at the primary level, because of those numbers.
Right, okay.
It's got 90.
90,
Yeah.
wow. I don't know if we wanna do that for
and
them.
that's sort of,
So,
Twin just has a couple big classes coming through for the next few years, so. I don't know, how disruptive do you wanna be?
Right.
okay, so these are our options. The goal is to get Garwood somewhere between 400 and 450. This one is the easy one without doing anything else to anybody else. That gets us there.
Lisa, on that Berkshire one, you're also gonna see numbers increase because they're actively building houses in that subdivision.
It's like half built out, is it about half built out? You know,
About
is it-
halfway
okay.
built out.
Why is the goal 450 and not 4?
Well, I'm just saying, if we can, between 400 and 450. I mean, 400 would be ideal.
Right. That would get him in closer proximity to everybody else.
Right. So, and this one, I think, and I know that this requires some busing, we have to talk about this, but this one, to me, is one that we really need to look closely at, unless you guys are thinking about this differently, but to Leon's point, we have 51 right now, and it's only half built out, so if we keep this subdivision in Garwood zone, we can pull kids out, and they're gonna go right back up to where they were, so John Brown can handle 100 more kids, it actually helps us get them where we want them to be, so.
And I think that our numbers out in Berkshire are higher than what they are. So one thing with TransFinder is they can't keep up on our maps because we're just building too fast in this area. So when we get these new housing developments, if I zoom in here,
Oh yeah, you can see that that's only half built.
I've built all of these little houses, all these little things, they were all in there before you could see it on the map. And you can see over here, there's no little house points. So when we get new students that come into our system, they don't get pinned on the map because there's no house point there. So realistically, our number could be closer to 100, because I'm just thinking we have 3 bus stops out there, and I know we pick up more than 50
Yeah.
kids just on the bus.
And we wanna look at this too, that no matter what number we look at today will be different tomorrow.
Mhm.
So we have to say what sort of makes sense as a neighborhood or as a group that's, you know, sort of makes sense due to that big shift, knowing that the numbers are gonna be different in September, but it made sense, you know, overall.
Right, so, and this one, I mean, this year, those kids have been going to Garwood, but they're new to Garwood, so they've been there a year. Unlike some of these other, like Hauser kids have always gone to Betty Keeper. That would be a big shift.
I think that's a tough one, honestly.
That would have, I
So you
mean,
think that Berkshire may be closer to 80 or, I mean, right now?
There's potential for it to be much more by.
So by just moving Brookshire, we take care of John Brown and Garwood. I think then we don't have as, then we're not impacting.
Well, it's essentially one bus, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 of those, two.
Yeah.
Well, you said there's 3 bus stops out there?
Mhm. Yeah. And we have 2 different routes going through there, cause the one that drops off at Brookshire and Irish and then Brookshire and Railway almost her entire bus gets off at those 2 stops. And then she's got maybe 10, 15 kids to do the rest of her route.
So we would have to work with transportation just to figure out how to make that happen, especially since
Yeah.
we're low on drivers.
Mhm.
Is it something though that we could?
Yeah, I've been kind of trying to brainstorm and figure it out, so I've been looking at, cause in the morning, you know, after we drop off at Garwood, it would, if we drop off there at 8:30, maybe they could have an arrangement where we could drop off students 5-10 minutes early, so when those buses are headed back to Rathdrum, we can swing into Brookshire, drop them off at John Brown on our way in, so they're not really late. Afternoon wise is where we're tight, cause we have when the high school and middle school get out to when the elementary school gets out, we're kinda tight on time right there. But I went through and found like what time our last stops are on the middle school and high school routes, and there's a couple routes that have about an extra 10-15 minutes where we could get them from their last stop on the middle school, high school route to John Brown, drop off at Brookshire, and then go to Garwood. And I mean, again, we might have to play with 5-10 minutes, or if, you know, roads are bad, we might have to deal with late buses, but that's nothing new. I mean, we do that all the time now anyway, so. I think it's doable. We just probably wouldn't make new routes to do it. We'd have to
Unless we
find ways to
suddenly
put
were
it
able
on.
to hire some drivers, that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You guys can't find drivers?
Oh, are you raising your hand because you wanna drive the bus?
Teach drivers ed for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, I test myself.
I have a question, so, the Garwood kids, are the Garwood parents feeling it right now? I mean, the parents, are they feeling the overcrowdedness at Garwood?
I did last year.
You can feel it as a parent?
Yeah, because,
Okay.
I mean, my daughter sat on the floor sometimes because there were not literally enough seats in the classroom. Some of it was her choice, but I mean, you could definitely feel it. In the last couple of years, we
They
felt it.
computer lab, they have every single specialist is on a cart now, that one of their kindergarten classes is in the old, counselor's room, so it's a really tiny room, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
One of the classes is up in the lunchroom.
So you've got these parents that have been established at Garwood 1 year, probably had a good experience, but 1 year versus 15 years. And maybe they're feeling it a little bit, well, this school's a little overcrowded. It might be a relief to them to say, oh, we're getting into a smaller school. It's a little closer.
It also
Change
makes
is
sense
hard.
though, because they're not having to go by any other schools, and then their middle school and their high school is all right there, so it's not like
Yeah.
you're putting them on a bus and going,
All
you know,
over
it
the
makes
place.
a lot of
That's a good
sense.
point, because they could pick up 3 kids at 3 different schools.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a family that has multiple kids, it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So would you still?
And that area is gonna continue to grow, and the only school really that can handle the growth is John Brown. And that would allow that entire community of kids who are gonna go home and play together to go to the same school.
Yeah. It kind of makes the
Yeah.
most sense to
Right.
disrupt like one neighborhood than disrupting like a little bit of every school, like we've talked about in the past.
So I'm hearing us all agree that it should be Brookshire that moves.
I think so.
That's correct.
And then theoretically, if things go well, they'll be getting their own school in 55.
Well, we're gonna talk about
I mean,
that.
I think that's a
That's
good
where we're
thing
going
for
next.
them.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me.
Okay. Let's do a thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down. Thumbs up if you feel like Brookshire makes the most sense and disrupts the fewest number of people. Sideways if you feel like we need to talk about it more, and down if you are really concerned about it. So that's a unanimous vote.
I'm actually curious how many students were in that section that was below 53?
Mhm.
The
On the
southern
south side
part?
of 53.
To,
Also moved out of Garwood. I just didn't know how many were there. Didn't look like the whole time.
No.
So like
Cause
Singer,
we made a bus stop at Singer and nobody ever rode, I think we took it off. Yeah, there hasn't, in some of those neighborhoods, it kind of fluctuates when there's kids and
Yeah,
kind of out of
Singer's
kids.
really bad.
Yeah, and I feel like Singer's kind of one of those right now that they don't really have many kids.
So there's a little bit of, squeeze going on at Twin Lakes right now as well, you said. What about take Reservoir Road as well?
You can make that, just walk them.
And then how about Deerfield?
You have to be careful, because then you're getting John, I mean, what do you want John Brown to
Then
be
you're
at?
gonna,
Yeah, you gotta
then you're
go,
gonna push.
yeah.
Because
John Brown
if you're
up.
talking about potentially 100 kids.
So then they're at 366, and we want them between 4 and 450. So
Yeah,
we
I
can
think
take
so.
all
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, both of the other two
I
as
think
well.
you take both of
Well,
them.
neither of those are growing. I mean, Deerfield's built out.
But that roughly drops, Twin, takes 30 kids off the Twin, so they're at,
A little bit closer to where
yeah, 307.
Obviously not.
Yeah, that's, number wise, that's clean, but grade level wise, it's not as
Oh, yeah.
clean.
Oh, yeah.
It never works out that way,
Charge, no.
no.
And Deerfield's kind of the same as Brookshire. I mean, those buses after we drop off
I know, I
at
was
Twin,
lost too.
they're headed back to the county,
It's where the
so you
new
can swing in
park
there.
they built
Probably
up
just
there.
one bus, pick them up and drop them off.
Or the Sasquatch.
Okay.
So Reservoir
And it's
Road
on
is
the
the road
way.
we take before you
This gives
get
you an
to-
option to go down the road too as well, because if you make the Brookshire change, say, this year, and you continue to have that expected growth, which, how fast we have that growth now, I'm not real sure. You've still got kind of a ace in the hole, so to speak, with the Highway 53 in Ramsey, that you can move over and still have room in John Brown to absorb those kids. So you got kind of give you a double net opportunity. I mean, it'd be almost closer for half of those kids too, wouldn't it? For some of them. If they're north of 53, like around the Lions Club.
And those could potentially
Is it
be
just so you
walkers
know, I
too,
noted all of that.
because there's sidewalks from Meyer on the north side of 53 all the way down.
Right.
I just looked at cheated, before I put it in for agenda.
Give you some buffer.
I know the board.
Thank you. Okay. So that will help us decrease Twin a little bit and get them more in alignment with where they should be as a 2 classroom per grade level school and get John Brown. Yep.
Do we have excess classroom space at John Brown that we're using it for other things that we will have to allocate out within the school board, the school district?
Well, not allocate out. Lynn and I actually walked the building with the principal and talked about where just general ed classrooms would go, grade level classrooms would go, and then where like the gate classroom would go and special ed.
But you don't have like IT at John Brown like you did at the middle school and like, so, okay, so not district employees that you have to.
We took a map and just, like, if we did 3 classes at every grade level, what would that look like? And, sometimes it's not that clean to Mary's
Right.
point, but if relatively that's allotted so many teachers, and then with special education,
Yeah.
so just to make sure what could she handle as far as space, so.
'Cause
Without
there's
putting her
unused space.
specialist on a card.
Yeah, cause there's
Sorry,
unused
property.
space currently, okay.
Well, everything is used, but
Yeah.
because you have the room, you can
Yeah.
have title teacher gets to use 3 classrooms instead
Right.
of 1.
Right.
The special ed department is using more than what they
Normally,
typically.
yeah, okay.
And then teachers will be shuffled to cover John Brown, okay.
It'd be interesting to get an exact count on Brookshire.
Yeah.
Is there
I'll work on, we actually got another office person hired on, which has been a huge help in the office, so it's taken a lot off my
You're
workload.
welcome.
So then, I know, thank you. So then I can go in and work on building those maps up and get them where they need to be, and then we can get a more accurate count.
I mean, Brookshire is close to 100 now, or 80 or 100. Would that affect the Deerfield Reservoir Road, or would there still be the room to do both roads?
There's still plenty. Even if we put 100 kids from Brookshire, that only gets them to 366 and gives them really almost another 100. And we're only putting 28 from those 2, so I think we're good. And that will still allow for room if Brookshire continues to grow. Okay, are we all comfortable with our 1-year plan? That means Lynn and I have work to do after the board gives us the thumbs up, if that's what if they approve the recommendation, then Okay, the 3-year plan, Bob isn't here tonight, but he came and talked to me and, he's got a pretty good pulse on the community, and because we've got 2 levies on the books, he wants to be really careful with bonds. And so, he asked me, what I thought about, rather than right away going to a bond for a new building, if we took a little bit more of a slower approach, a more methodical approach, I guess, and ran a small bond where we added on to Twin Lakes Elementary, and then they could have 3 classrooms per grade level, added on to Timberlake Middle School, and potentially even added on to Betty Kiefer Elementary, which would make it a much larger school. And then as a board, the board could redirect some of our ESSER dollars like we've been doing into a capital projects savings account, to kind of what you've been wanting us to do, and then go to the patrons and say, we need to run a bond, but it's gonna cost us $8 million to do those projects. And my recommendation to the board would be that we purchase land on the eastern side of our district out Hayden area, because Coeur d'Alene keeps encroaching on our district because they keep building schools out there, and then
They're intentionally doing it to
Yeah.
get the annexation.
right, and then people are requesting to be annexed into Coeur d'Alene because they can throw a rock at the school that instead of having to get on a bus and drive for half hour to Garwood. So that would be my recommendation, is we put some money in to be able to buy land to put our own school out there.
You talking about on like off of Lancaster or Prairie out that direction?
Yep, yeah, north area.
That'd probably help sell it to my neighbor too.
Would it?
Yeah, I had it, right after we moved in, I had a neighbor came up and ranted about how he didn't like the, school district levies. I didn't think that was a fault at all. I came to this one of these meetings and I was like, I know what.
Yeah, so, anyway, Bob just ran that by me, so I'm just throwing that out there for us to kind of digest, but he was thinking if we had $2 or $3 million in the bank, then we could go to our patrons and say, we need to run a bond for $8 million, but we have 3, so we really only need to bond 5, which over 20 years is a very small, amount of taxes. And then it would give us some time to adjust our attendance boundaries and really see, because Brian's projecting, when you look at our trends, we grow by about 1.5% student enrollment year over year. So, which is like 60 kids, 60 to 80. And it's across the whole district. So if we can add some space and create space at Lakeland Middle and Lakeland High School by shifting some of our secondary kids north, we might be able to buy ourselves some time so that we can be a lot more intentional about what we actually need, based on what's coming. Because right now it's all a little crystal ball. So why don't you talk at your tables about kind of that idea and just see, when we come back together and kind of talk about how we feel about it. If there are tweaks that we might have that might make it even a better
And I
idea.
still don't know what the state is going to hand over, right? 'Cause
There will
we're
be
still in
no
the
money for facilities.
in the 314, it's all for teachers and.
Maybe they won't.
There will be money for.
'Cause I haven't heard a whole lot about it.
Yeah, there'll be money for safety, a little bit of money for safety. They're gonna help us out with our classified salaries a little bit, so, and that was one of the things Bob suggested, so we can add this to your conversation, was we're gonna run this levy and it's gonna pass, and we're gonna get 9.52 million, and then find out from the state that we're gonna get, 1.5 million more for classified salaries than what we have had. We have to have a talking point back to the community about what are we doing with the money. And so we could say to them, we're gonna put this in a capital projects because we are going to have to either add on or build a building, and we're going to be intentional about saving this for that, so we don't have to come to you. We just have to talk through that as a board, but,
Does that sound like that's fairly likely?
well, the other thing that's fairly likely, unfortunately, is that the state is gonna move us away. So right now, we're funded based on our enrollment, so we have 4,800 kids roughly enrolled in the district. they pay us for those 4,800 kids who come. They want to move us back to what they call average daily attendance, which is how we were funded prior to COVID. And that's based on who actually comes to school each day. So even though we have 4,800 kids on the books, if 98% of them show up on any given day, that might mean that there are 200 kids absent every day across the district, which could be literally one kid in every classroom. And we would reduce our funding by $2 million. So they're gonna cut our.
You still need all the staffing for all.
Mhm. Right, you still have the staff for the kids who are enrolled, but they don't, and Governor Little actually said out loud to the superintendents that he believes that, well, and the school board members, because we were there for ISBA, he does not agree with teaching ghost students. And when he said, what are you talking about? Well, we know for sure that you have kids on the books that we're paying you for who don't actually attend your schools. Well, you don't know for sure because we don't do that. That is not what we do. But anyway, so we're planning on going back to ADA, which is a cut of $2 million for us. So we get cut $2 million, and then we maybe get like $3 to $4 million from the $330 million that they additional dollars. So we're actually, instead of netting that, we're actually netting like $1.5 to $2 million.
And that's just for 1 year. The money that we're getting from the state is just for 1 year. Next year it's gonna be that $2 million or whatever. It's not gonna be.
No, the 330 million
Is that every?
What's the annual thing?
That's, yeah, they're putting a trust fund. Yeah, but you just have to remember that every year the legislature could change the priorities and how we have to spend that money, but, you know, so, but yeah, it's in law, it's supposed to be ongoing.
So it sounds good from legislators to say we just gave you $4 million more than what you have gotten, but they will neglect to say that out loud to everybody that we're losing $2 million on the backside because they changed the way we're funded. So there's that part.
And do they count enrollment on a single day every year?
You want to express what
Enrollment is, we upload our student data.
And let me change it,
All the
attendance.
time.
Do they choose just one day? Like in California, we had Seabed's Day, and it was always October, whatever, and we just pushed kids to be in school that day. Can
We upload student data on it's uploaded. We have a monthly upload, IC upload they call it, which it takes attendance from every day and is uploaded electronically. So we get paid mostly though, the first, on either enrollment or attendance in the first 10 weeks of school. Because that sets the number for how many teachers they'll fund you. And so the first 10 weeks are the most important, and then through the rest of the year, then it's what they call your best 28 weeks. That's your average, and that's how they pay you on another part of the formula. So it is, you know, it's like what they do in California, do in Washington, they always had a monthly count day. They definitely here, you know, there's rules of the game where if you have a student that's not showing up, we have to list them as inactive. Once we don't know where they are, I think it's after 20 days or something like that. I can't remember where they're, but but honestly, if you really want to look at systems where you want to scam numbers, it's way easier to scam attendance than it is enrollment. On Governor Little's point is that he's actually, if people really were not doing the right thing, it's much easier to say they were there that day instead of create a whole person out of thin air. That's right, that's all. But, the bottom line is it is a funding formula, but our base is now sort of shifted to enrollment, and, it's been 3 years. And so you've sort of got a new floor, and now the floor may be lower than that. We'll have to see.
Did that happen because of COVID?
Yes.
Yeah, they went to enrollment.
They went
Because
to
we were
enrollment.
telling kids, if you're sick, you cannot come to school, so everybody's attending.
So statewide, traditionally, enrollment versus ADA is about 95% statewide. Lakeland's always been a little bit better. We're about 97% historically. During COVID, attendance rates were down to 75%, 80%. I mean, it's dramatic. Now, like, we're back about 93, so we're still not where we were pre-COVID as far as our attendance rates. And I know we're better than some of our neighboring districts and other parts of the state, that we're doing a good job, but, you know, it's just different.
We just did our first round of petitioning for high school credits because kids have missed more than the days in the policy, and it was a big wake-up call. So I'm hoping that attendance rates start to come up as parents start to realize that, oh, we're holding people accountable again.
It's hard with elementary because there's no teeth to it.
Well, we do have a ritual truancy that also is.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Okay, so at your tables, will you just kind of talk about the brainstorm Bob had, and then maybe you have a different idea that you want us to kind of talk about, or maybe we tweak it? And if, Leon, since you're the only non-school person over there, do you want to come join one of these other tables?
Sure.
Because Lynn and Brian and Rebecca don't get to have a say.
That means I get all say it.
There you go. You can stay there.
Right, I'll be right with you. People are gonna be hit here, you know, in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and our board has directed Brian to basically use the rest of funding this year, so we have.
Yeah.
June of 20. I think we actually have until 2025, we're gonna spend it this year. So we have the science scholarship, which is coming in at right under $1,000, which is what we thought, and then ELA will
But
come in
that
close
seems
to
to
that.
save some time,
And then,
because
everything
if you
else,
shift some
Brian,
kids
the
up
board's
to,
told Brian to use the ESSER dollars to pay
you know,
for staff,
Timberlake,
that anything
you know,
that
add
was
on there,
expense,
shift that
and then we're
boundary.
shifting the money out of the general fund,
Because it
budget,
doesn't
and goes
Timberlake-
into that capital
which
project.
is it?
And then the levy money that you said, if
The middle
we
school's
end up
overcrowded,
having
Timberlake, right?
a
Is that the
little
one?
bit,
One is-
in case the governor
Okay.
gives us
Yeah.
more, can you take that levy money, is that plant levy money you're talking about?
Those are
Or
bid
something else,
stall.
can it be moved into that fund? Oh, it can't.
Oh, and plant.
I know the high school
the
ones
thing we
that
can use for that is buildings.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
you
what
could
she
do-
said.
But what I would suggest is we
Timberlake
take
Timberlake
the
Middle
extra
would be added on to
money
it.
that the state is giving us and move that
Really?
into
I
that
think
capital
this goes to the
projects.
point
And
of just
as
like,
long as we're transparent with
community saying that.
community,
they've
and
been
just
very-
let them know
the district
that
has been very
we ended
intentional
up
about
out of that $330
using
million
funds
that
wisely.
we talked about.
I think this just adds to
After
that point
we
about.
decreased our allotment from just regular by 2 million. We got this, let's say 4 million, so we're actually ahead 2. We take that 2 and put it here because we know we have to either add on 2 buildings or create or build a building, and we are going to use this money to offset the cost.
And the hope is that there will be at least $3 million, right?
I'm just throwing a number, I'll take it to
We
decide.
hope for the building itself.
Not the building.
I mean, there's several, right? There are
Yes,
several.
okay,
that are-
make sure, yeah, that's what he was
I
saying.
feel like just a couple
We can
years
take
ago,
those,
the whole
and it
talk
would
of the
be easy
district
at
was
the-
to
I think
move
at the end of
high
this
school
year,
out by
if
K-Tech
we
and then to
have
move
the
the
extra
middle school to Lakeland High School.
Yeah.
And now we have such a huge increase in elementary
Maybe
kids,
then
that it's like,
one more year.
just put that high school in the back burner, we need to deal with that.
Well, part of that had to do with moving the sixth graders to the middle
Right.
schools.
Yeah.
That alleviated the pressure in the elementary schools, so that we had the room for growth,
How
growth
long
there.
is that gonna last before we literally have to add bonds to
The
the
high schools are.
That's the part, that's what we don't, because when you look at what we build here,
Yeah.
if we
And you
we
know, the
made the
plus
right
is like
decision
when
with
all
where we want to move
Bob
kids and
Jones,
how we shift
he
kids
didn't like to spend
around.
money.
At the
And-
elementary level, our
And,
numbers
you know,
should
as a
be
teacher
okay.
and as an administrator,
Lakeland High School is
that creates some
full,
problems, but,
Lakeland Middle School is
looking
full.
back, it was
Timberlake
like,
Middle School is
you know,
full, that's the
right
only
thing
reason
to
we're
do.
not talking
You
about
think
adjusting
thing, which is
boundaries.
kind of the same
For
thing.
the secondary
Same
right now
philosophy
is we
Lisa has.
can't put any more kids in Timberlake Middle
It
School.
matches
So
with
that
our Pine Hill.
requires
They-
us
What
to
is
add
the
on,
best we
so
can do
if
with
we do a small
At least.
first, and
And I
then
agree.
show our community
Kids
that
with that, yeah.
we're saving
And
money,
with the
we're
temperature of the
doing
community
we're not
right now,
asking
that's the
for
only way
everything that we need,
we'll
we're
really
asking
get
for
it.
absolutely,
I mean, if we
we
just
have a say.
know that there's these other
Bob felt like
possibilities, then there's
the
gonna be
community
people
was
that kind of
appreciative
shape
of that,
you know, be able to get
and
that bond.
$3 or $4 million
You'll get your
bond
levy pass.
over 20 years is.
But then they would put in the.
So that's really a pretty good bond.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And it's a bigger.
Well, and a lot of people are confused as to what is what, and they think it's all the same.
Right.
They don't see it.
Well,
They just.
Well, but that gets you, so when you're adding, just so you know,
Well, and it's
they're not having to
also,
do any
it's just a matter of
infrastructure,
economics.
water's
It's
already
just,
there,
you
the
go ahead
electricity's
with a
already
bond,
there, all that stuff's there, it's
$1,000,
really
$2,000
just
depending on their house,
adding the walls.
a year.
And so
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
not
it's
as
just
much
not
fun,
there.
but
You
now
don't
they're
get those
shifting
20
kids
times.
around.
You know, the
And
longer we
if,
wait,
and
we're
Bob,
gonna have
Bob was
bonds
saying to
dropping
me
off.
was,
Like, so
maybe
we're
that's
gonna-
good
in a
enough.
couple years,
Maybe we do that in
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
Timberlake, one of the,
Middle school
the
kids
big
join,
one
and we've, and it's not, the growth is pretty steady at that 1.5%
Done it
rise,
that way,
but
it's, don't
projecting,
put another bond.
we may not need to build anything.
It's, we need to retire it, we need to.
I think this plan sounds.
It sounds like it's legislative.
Oh, absolutely,
And
that's.
I plan to run
That's-
the bond.
In private sector, we do all that lobbyists.
At a time when we're not.
I don't know
putting
what
a bunch of
the school education.
Well, and then
lobbyists.
my other, we run a bond for a really small amount like that.
That's not.
Like how long?
As long as we're good for the
Like,
taxpayers. So, you know,
that's 20 years.
and how much would.
Right, but it's pennies for your taxpayers. Okay. So
Because I feel like if those
because
came,
they're, 20 year
then I think
mortgage
that
are
the
very
amount
small
of
amounts
living
on your
here
tax
would
bill.
decrease
Supplemental
substantially.
money, you're collecting $9.95
It's just a shame we can't have
every
a
year for 2
1/10
years.
of
We have to
1%
generate that
on
much
sales
money where
tax that nobody
we just have
didn't
to generate
notice.
enough to make the
On
bond be
soda
each
pop.
year, so.
You know.
Well, then, like, Bob's idea, but I'm still worried about things.
I think
Not
it's
actually
actually
down
less
to
than
one. You wouldn't even notice.
And my kids will be
It's
through
just
there by
okay,
then,
the
but
state doesn't
I'm still
allow it
concerned, I mean, it's.
the way it
But the
is.
schools do it, and the cities will do it, and the counties will do it, and then every taxing district will do it, and then you have.
Anita was there.
That's not what
Little
it is.
penny
Yeah.
on top of it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, there is
And like in there every
an
like,
interesting
game or
approach.
something in the gym, and there were
Some of
like
the
hollow
merchants
spots
do,
in the
uh,
gym, and
Yeah, we
Roundup.
need new.
and I almost fall out of the bleachers every time I go for a
Which-
hand
which-
officers.
Yeah.
Like the middle school.
So those are things that we're.
One of my kids,
yeah.
Okay.
Is that associated with this school district? Is that something that is
that's a
somebody
private
else?
foundation, they, and then they donate.
They
it to
do,
kids.
well, I know they do scholarships for their employees.
Is that what it
Tuition,
is?
they pay for their hollow spots.
But that concept is not bad. I mean,
Yeah,
if
but that's okay. I mean, if there's already a plan to significantly renovate it, then I think that would be fine, but.
And that's
over time,
definitely a conversation the board needs to
Yeah.
continue to have.
what's it?
But
That
I mean,
amounts to
our
a
taxpayers
lot of money.
over a lot of years have given us these buildings, and we've done a really good job, I
You know,
think,
we've
of
got the
maintaining it to
KC,
the best of our ability, and they, since we've
KC,
been in that's been
which is
better.
Lisa, on this
pretty powerful, you know.
plan Bob's got.
You know, some
have
people
they
like them, some people don't, you know.
Yeah.
How many rooms,
But
how many
to have
students?
that
And with our current
and
work projections,
that's
at what point
that's
do
big,
those get
that's big, I think if we can show.
Because the only thing, without knowing some of the numbers, playing this out,
We've cut
to
it
do a
tight, we put
smaller
$2 million
bond,
away.
and
So
you've
the
got
bonds
that
not
over
as big as
20
it used to be.
years,
That's the
you're
thing
gonna
that's
turn
better.
around in
I think
4 years
everybody
from
likes
now.
to hear.
Yeah,
And
you
then
have
now
to
you
go
got
on.
your,
And you have
whole
to
wall
on,
going
but you
through.
can have
Correlate
the
stuff with correlate, they just
And
use the
actually,
opposite here.
Well, I know,
Spending so much money, you know,
what the numbers are.
I mean, there's
You
no
add
need on
two
next
classrooms.
no, we're not adding, we're not talking, so we're adding, we're talking about like a minimum of 6 classrooms.
Hey, Brian.
A minimum of 6
When does our last art
We're at a
bond
minimum of
drop
6
off?
classrooms at Timber.
They don't.
And we can,
Coeur d'Alene,
we can
which
adjust
West
that.
Lake.
Yeah, but
And
It's
they
just
just
Coeur d'Alene.
but if you figure, you know, a classroom is 5 kids on average.
Yeah.
If you just
You're
average.
adding
it's a matter of,
150 kids per those schools.
Yep.
Well, I think
If
you
you're
can-
gonna
Slow
get
and
rid of the
steady,
portable,
you
it's
know,
really
being reasonable, we're not being out.
Spend some good time with.
And so
Sell
this
that for
is Timberlake, because you don't really sell
Not
them, do you?
just-
When
People want to say, these are what we've
Everybody's
accomplished.
trying to so hard to.
With the money that to flat out say, this is what we've been able to do with the little money that we asked for. And showing that good faith, that
The other thing
due
to keep in
diligence
mind
that
is, I think
we did, right? By
2025, when
I just think you gotta take that narrative to the next level and get it in front front.
And that's
So
You
you
gotta
have
go
that
to
falling off.
a
It's just like
like-minded
this tiny
legislature.
hill, like literally.
This needs to go into a
Yeah.
committee.
3 to 5
If you're gonna have any
Yes.
chance, if you're sitting on the surplus, so you get it into a committee,
So
mock
it's tiny.
committee.
And so then if you came back and.
Education, none of them are in politics, obviously. But somebody at some point is gonna have to ask the question, what is it you've got against education and investing in it? Politicians don't really ask that.
And so if that one will be tiny,
That's the last thing they
depending on
want.
whether we say we need.
So I'm
if it's
just saying, this, I'm not saying this is something we have to
School,
bar,
that's a
sure,
thing,
you
yeah,
know,
that's a
there's
couple
a
years.
conversation.
That buys us
In
a
my
little bit
view,
of time.
I think you have to get the
I
wheels
think it
turned up,
helps us for
and you
me
gotta
as
get
a
more
person, I feel
representation,
better about
who's
taking
our
our time.
representatives up here?
And because one of the
State
things that
level.
kind of slapped us in the face the last time.
I know, pretty cool.
We don't talk to
Yeah.
DC,
It
Doug.
came out and we couldn't
I don't know,
justify
see,
what
that's,
this is
that'd
why
be a
we
great
needed
place
a
to
new
start,
high
find
school.
out.
I don't know right now.
So there's other stuff down there, so when we write a stop on violation ticket, that money supposedly goes into this bank. And eventually, that money is supposed to get divvied back out to the
How
school
much time do you
districts
think those
evenly,
files?
not like we wrote the most,
If
that's
we
when we get the most money.
Do this front.
But I called the state and
Was that
talked to the
after?
director down there, I said, when is this
Well,
gonna
In
happen?
addition
Because
to, in addition
what I
to
was
the years that
reading,
we already
if
have.
nothing's set up for that
Yeah, it could
dispersal
be, I mean, it
for
could
a
be more
certain
than that
date,
if we're.
then they just get to keep the money. And I'm like, well, I don't care if
Or
we're
if
like
we're
$5.
not saving.
We're spending a lot of time on this,
Yeah.
like, you guys don't deserve
It
this.
just changes.
And, I mean, that was our whole
When
thing,
we
he's
were
not there
running
anymore, but he
around,
pretty
we
much
run
said,
it, like,
well, there's not enough
next
money in
fall.
there. And I talked to the sheriff's department about it, and they have the same thing with DUIs.
Well,
He said,
if
because
we
we
do a
have to
smaller
get
list,
both DUIs and
it
everybody
could
else
be
on the
that
same thing,
we
he sets a pot down at the state treasurer.
I don't wanna run it in the same way we have to money on everybody, that'd be something that long.
If they
At
ever
this
do.
time
And I was like,
around,
is there just nobody that wants to take on that responsibility for like a sport or something, but,
Well, and enrollment's
but yeah, it's super frustrating, because we spend a lot of time writing
And
these
really,
tickets and reviewing video, and we invested a lot of money as a district in those stop arm cameras,
And foresee
and
that
not seeing
those
any
roads
return
It
on
does
that.
look like
And
it's-
it's safer for our kids, and that's our number one goal.
It does look to me like,
Yeah.
in fact, that number sometimes you just gotta see that for about 4 years. Which kind of
Everybody gets absorbed back into each other.
In the last 4 years here.
Yeah, exactly.
You never see.
Yeah, it's slowed down the last couple of years where it's at, but we are getting apartment buildings that are coming in now, which is gonna start to increase the growth again.
So let me ask you this then, because when that happens, because the city council has to approve
This,
that
Right,
stuff,
right.
we'll
this,
just-
this
Yeah.
comes off in a quiet
If
way.
it's already zoned
Education,
appropriate,
everybody wants to know.
then it's already been done. So,
And
very
you just,
visible.
the district just writes a letter saying
To
whether
that
or not
point.
there's an impact on the schools.
it'd have to be new, it would be in new annexation.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we don't get to
You
give
know,
input, we only get to give input when the
what was
city
the other
council is
thing?
having to make a decision about whether or not to
You hope.
allow.
And annex that in. If it's already annexed in, there's a lot of land annexed in.
that was the
And
big.
if they want to
vehicle
build,
for
okay, in the zoning requirements that are there,
In the
then they can
comprehensive
build.
plan.
There we go. Tell you what, here's
Comprehensive
what
plan has
we're
nothing to
telling
do
you.
with.
When we get to keep our share of
Stuff
what
that's
we
already
sell in the water.
annexed.
No, I know, I'm
This
just
is-
saying, if
this
somebody
is
reviews
yours.
and wants to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's already annexed in, they have to be, as long as they're built based on what's already been approved. Planning zone.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
do.
conservative.
Bob, you're referring to as
Yeah.
mayor, right? Bob Jones used to be superintendent.
He did make
Vic is the mayor.
Vic Holmes is the mayor.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
Not high school.
and Ryan is 2025, was our previous superintendent.
Oh, I was told that he was also a former mayor.
No, he works, he's he works for the
So you can do this.
chamber, he's part of the chamber.
Oh, he's the chamber
3
president.
years, if you need
He's
to
never been
go
there.
back to another section, you can.
But
He's involved in a lot of different
High school.
committees, so.
Which is why he came and met.
Why you
Just said,
take that, right?
maybe instead of.
Oh, I
rushing
take-
to a
take
vote
that, yes.
and
And
really
was that originally planned for
that may
high
or
school?
may not.
Yeah, I just pulled up my tax.
They did
bill.
talk about it in the
Twin Lakes
last,
Pond,
big, long range.
on my tax bill.
It's
is
got enough
$6.
acreage there that
So
it
that'll
could be
drop
as
off.
is what we said.
Well, it seems like the high school that would be pretty close to.
And that was, how many?
That's what I was just thinking, maybe on the eastern side,
Yeah,
between high
they
school.
want to land, maybe a little.
There's probably 15,
And
10 to
then,
15.
you know, I don't know.
And so if we did
I
a
didn't know
smaller
Coeur d'Alene was
ride,
sneaking in and
It's-
taking.
it's a
There's
matter
still
of
inflation
our
to keep in
land.
mind though.
Finding that land and.
Right, but that was a $10 million building.
Yeah.
We're talking now about if the full amount is 8, but we can have
You know,
Three
it's
big
developed.
five,
Yeah, well,
3 to 5 staying
you know,
up,
there's all
and
kinds of
we're
developments that are going on.
And are schools allowed to do savings that are like a high yield?
I
It's not.
wanted to ask you actually,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
our-
like bikes to Lake
Yeah, so the savings account that you have is like a high yield, so you have more money in there and you're getting paid, okay. Just, I didn't know if you could do that or not.
there's limitations of the state law puts out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But you can look for good interest rates for
Yeah, we do all of Ohio Max Garwood, so you can see, but you can't go off way into La La Land.
Yeah, here to Lala, yeah.
So, are you guys okay?
So somebody would get-
Thinking about it this way for the
Yeah,
3 year?
we don't go.
Or,
I'd
Yeah,
like
we
to
don't
see
go,
some more, you know, some more,
We
this
turn
is
off
the
your red dot,
forecast,
we
this is
don't
what it
go
would
out to that
create,
side of
this is
Eden. If they,
how long we
if
think
they
this
wanna
will
catch the
stay
bus, they
off.
have to come up here.
Doing a
Because they're
full-on
the
one
ones.
for another elementary, junior
Yes.
high, high
Yeah,
school type of thing.
so we need more, you wanna see the numbers and what that would look like.
Yeah,
Do
I
like
mean,
that,
I know
yeah.
the last it's right in that area.
I
that
believe
zone
you
transfer
had
program.
the capacities in all the school districts, all the
Or we get
schools,
most
and the
Lucky
and
doesn't
then the
pass,
past,
they say they're
I
closing
think
their
5 years
borders,
of
so how many of those
populations,
closing
we have
because
those
people
that
get
are-
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys heard
Yeah.
about,
But I think that's the last meeting we had.
they wanna do like a.
Perpetuals,
For that, it could, yeah, it goes to Twin Lakes. They added to the urban district.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
That's only because
How do you know how
then
much
you
is
can
on
say,
the
yeah,
your district
Cause
in
it'd
10
be,
years? What if
I
it's
think
already
it'd be well worth the
Well, then
money
they
if
just
we
go
could
back when
buy
you
those and
perpetual
hold
and
off in
traditional
the farm for
or-
a longer period of time.
Yeah.
But if you bought into
Yeah,
it,
it's a lot.
and found out that you had to turn around within a couple of
But
years,
you're gonna keep.
and you have broadband on another elementary school, you might just go back and say, well, we just thought we solved the problem for a few years, and we spent the $3 million, if we would have known that this wasn't gonna cover for very long, we probably would have just bought that.
So a lot of those kids that are there, those are staff.
And we're asking for something that would cover some of the years that they're thinking.
But I guess if we were knowledgeable of what they were, that we could all about this, you know, this is what we're gonna do.
There's no like lapse in.
Yeah, I think if you came back and said, okay, this
We
school
let right
plan
up
said
to.
5 years, and
Right
waiting
up to
to go
the
for elementary school or high school on preschool. And we're up front with it, so this will help us only get through so long. And then we'll go into a bigger one, if we do it,
That-
growth
that-
numbers will
that
go
one
down.
there.
If we see that, because honestly,
That's the blue hiatus.
I'd like to see things continue to slow down.
This is outside of the
History shows that when you put in a
They got
highway
annexed
like Highway
Right, they were
41,
also from.
If we build
ten
it,
years,
yeah.
usually people
Yeah.
Because it's, what is it, 7%?
67, 66.
I think that's the thing that I'm most worried about. I think this approach.
This is the next
This
one.
Because last time, like 48 votes.
What I hear is.
And that's something that's just that and not
Yeah, I agree with you that we'll know better.
probably just those pretty
They don't.
Bus stop, I was trying to. They would have to drive them across. But now people are talking now access all the way to
There's several.
Oh, yeah, we had to run a bus up there. And the highway department that's supposed to take care of the like, there's a lot of people that bus down that little hill and back up.
how many they sell, what they
I call them all the time, and see if they can do anything.
It doesn't compare to the entire district.
We're just trying to single them and tell you about this conversation.
makes me wonder about the apartments too.
We're just saying the background.
The biggest
They
thing is
should
people are not.
just think when they behave in building apartments.
We're gonna, even if we don't run them all, we're gonna just.
Or do they run the
Brian,
We're trying to put ourselves in the accessible.
Will they fill up?
Share their concerns, have questions answered.
Which one, the ones in Brookshire?
I do think we need to find attention by
It'll take a
plans,
while.
It'll take a while.
mostly because I'll bring it up, but,
But I gotta get to
he's
that.
trying to steal our, but like, but I have, yeah, because, I mean, I know people that live up on the other side of Lancaster, and they're totally up the other side of the street. So, I mean, it's a really sense of that, but now we have potentially 2 and 3 landholdings, and we haven't built on any of them yet, so, I mean.
But it's a bigger.
There's things about selling some land, or was that gifted to someone?
Probably
So, I mean, I don't know if it would be worth it to sell some land, to buy some more land that would make more sense based on the projections of the growth of the area. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, it would be really nice to see some land within the Hayden area that was for the school district.
Maybe somebody will get down and pull the winner and say, this is, I'm not signing up for this.
We always have you.
Well, maybe
It
that's
would be
the
nice to see some of that stuff because, you know, we get over and over and over again, schools are crowded, you guys are growing too fast and all of that kind of messaging. But we're also, you know, the mid-sized city of all this, Hayden's actually bigger than Rockland. We hold 3 elementary schools, and middle school, a high school. I mean, the rest of the community is really trying to support the education needs for students. Where it seems a little frustrating that there's so many kids coming from other areas that are growing that aren't trying to invest into the education.
I could put us out on the eastern edge of our.
I was wondering how that works because it's not really feasible for those people on the cutoff road. If you're how far enough to go all the way to reach the river.
They don't but everybody's like for the summer.
And they would feel a little closer to their school.
We have a little bit of barn.
Because that's the interesting thing, you've got the kids that live just east of Hauser that are going all the way out to the lakes and they're passing the keep, they're passing on ground.
Hey, I remember Angel.
Yeah, Pagels.
I would like to get these people that did the same thing.
Her son was starting.
All right, Rebecca, are you ready to type furiously?
What do we got?
Okay, team. What are our thoughts?
I think that's the best case scenario. With adding on to the other schools and buying land.
Schools been so strong to continue to build trust. This case, so if we get all the support and everybody's all for this levy, and then we come back and hit them with this big bond, and we're like, whoa, like, I don't know how big of a bond to build a new school, it would have to be
15 to 20
substantial.
million.
Right, so it's
For an
a lot.
elementary.
And this would be along those same lines of trying to use our money as wisely as possible and be fiscally responsible.
Would it be enough land for a high school on the eastern side of the district, or are you guys thinking more of elementary?
I haven't even talked to the board about it, but it's just something that's been kind of in the back of my mind. I mean, it could be maybe enough land to put an elementary and a middle school in there, cause that's where I feel like we get stuck, is at that middle level. And then they can feed into our 2 high schools. Okay, how about, so this table feels like that's a good intermediate step.
Yep.
Okay, how about this table?
Well, we like the intermediate step, but we also want to kind of see some more data of if we build these, how many additional students, how long will that push out another bond to see if, okay, well, if it's only 2 years, is it worth going back to the people after passing a small bond to go back to them again for another one right off the bat? Or if it's gonna be a 5 to 6 year window, then it may be worth it. It's really getting the additional numbers and getting to see what that forecast would be as additional information to help make a really good decision on what's best.
So we could come with some, numbers to the April meeting and just, if we were to build on it, then Kiefer, if we were gonna build on it Twin, if we were gonna add on Timberlake Middle School, how many classrooms are we talking about? And if the average number is 25, how many students, and then looking at Brian's projected enrollment trends, how many years does that take us out? So I that was, are you guys okay with taking a look at all that data? Okay, so we'll have that for our next meeting. And then, yes, sir.
On the, back to the, can we see the real Berkshire numbers eventually, do you think?
Yeah, I should be able to get those done by the next meeting, get all those houses.
Well, will it go to the board before we meet again?
No.
That recommendation?
Oh.
I don't know, are we ready to give it to the board, or do you feel like we need to wait?
I feel like we need to wait. I kind of feel like I wanna wait and see what happens next week with the.
Well, we're talking this, he's back to this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I changed the course of.
He's just asking, are we taking our recommendation to move Brookshire, Deerfield, and Reservoir Road to John Brown, because I think he's interested to know what is the actual student count at Brookshire before we make that
That's a good point.
recommendation. So my only caveat to that is the next board meeting is like April 8th or 9th. That doesn't, I mean, it gives us about 6-ish weeks to start to have conversations with families, which is fine, it's doable, it just will push us.
But I think what we figured out, that is even if this is 51 or 100, it still works.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Then
I was.
that.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Sorry to change the.
I say take it to the board.
Well, we're having board agenda planning tonight, so.
The other piece is for some reason, let's just say Brookshire comes back and it's 150 and we make a recommendation. There's no reason why we can't come back and just say, okay, we're just gonna move forward with one and maybe not do Deerfield and Res Road, you know what I mean? Like, we could always, in the April one, ask them to make that change if the numbers were to come back double.
This may seem a little shady, and I don't mean it to be, but if we wait to get the actual numbers and we take it in April, we're done with the levy, and we won't make Brookshire people mad at us before they vote.
Which is what we had talked about originally, was kind of like seeing if the levy was gonna pass, and then start talking about
Celebrating
boundary.
when it passes.
Yes, celebrating when it passes, but also then having those boundary conversations with families.
Yeah, cause Lynn and I can get that done if we know basically the first full week of school coming back from spring.
So you don't have a board meeting between the time the levy is up and.
And when is your board meeting on Wednesday?
It's a week from today. Yeah, it's the second Monday of each month.
Oh, you guys changed it, that's right.
So that would be before.
It's we haven't had days before. So, is everybody okay if we wait till April and then we can solidify the numbers? Cause I'd rather not take a recommendation and get it approved and then have to come back and say, oops, we need to pull that back and do it differently. I'd rather just do it once, so. Are you
Yeah.
Okay.
And I apologize for changing.
I knew exactly where you were. I made the leap with you.
The other piece, Katie brought this up, is, you know, how many like zones or out of district zone transfers happening like for Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls that we don't keep track of that are not in Lakeland, but they're in Lakeland requesting to go out. And so, you know, depending on their levies and that impact, are we talking about 5 kids come back to Lakeland, or are we talking about 50? I mean, I don't think it's a big number, but I don't know that. We don't keep track of that, but we have no way, they don't sign off for us, so.
Do you think it's that big of a?
I think,
I have more coming in.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's more coming in than.
Or at least one.
yeah, I think we've lost a couple of kids who wanted to play in a 5A school
Right.
at that athletic, and they will probably find a way to keep those kids.
Sure they will.
Would be my guess.
Use your address.
The other thing that's coming, and since you guys are connected to the community, that I just kind of want to put out there, and it doesn't have anything to do with our planning moving forward, but Post Fall School District will more than likely go to a 4-day week next year. Priest River School District has already made the decision to go to a 4-day week next year. And so people are starting to ask, is Lakeland going to do that? And we had a conversation at a board meeting last month. I just feel like it's very disingenuous to, we could go right now and say to our community, let us know what you think, and then they're gonna be like, wait, you're asking for money from us, and then you're gonna tell us we're only in school 4 days a week? So that might hurt the levy. And then on the flip side of that, if we wait till the levy's over, then it's very disingenuous for us to go, thank you for passing the levy, and oh, by the way, we're only gonna be in school 4 days a week. So we've taken the position that we're gonna let Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls and Priest River figure out whether that works for kids and families or not, and we're just gonna wait and see. So that's kind of.
There's not a real strong push for it.
I was like, what's the
In
plus and minus of it?
In Post Falls,
Yes, there is, but
yeah.
by the community?
Yeah,
Community wants to-
74% of the parents surveyed, and they had a large number of parents who participated.
Wow, for 4 days?
Yeah, so we might get some of their buses.
Imagine daycare.
That would be
I just think that at that elementary school level would be the biggest problem daycare.
I know, that's what I was thinking too, it's like, working parents and they can't hardly find daycare to save your life right now to begin with.
Right, and in Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene, they have the Boys and Girls Club, and
That's
they've
true,
got the
they
dog
do.
center, they have, we don't have any of that. So in our district, when I was talking, with one of the board members, I just said, we would have to have people working on Fridays to provide childcare. And
Yeah.
it might be enrichment time, some tutoring time, whatever, but we basically would have our schools full of kids because we don't have childcare in this district anywhere. I mean, they're
Home
full.
for some of our kids is
Yeah,
really, really
terrible.
good.
So,
Lisa,
yes.
what would happen if Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene went to 4-day school with K-Tech?
Then K-Tech would be on the 4-day week, and so we would just have something for our kids to do on Fridays. I don't know what that would look like. We'll get outside the box, but,
Because I know that if 2 schools shut down for a snow day,
yeah.
then
The
it's all
schedule
shut
is
down.
based on 2 of the 3,
Does Coeur d'Alene think that they'll be moving to 4 days?
if their levy doesn't pass, they would. So,
In Post Falls, is it regard, because they're doing a levy too.
yeah, theirs isn't based on the levy.
It's a threat.
Theirs is, but their parents are supportive of it. The reason Post Falls is doing it is they are trying to retain teachers, because like us, they lose a lot of teachers to Washington, and we can't compete with the salaries in Washington, so they thought, well, if our teachers can make the same amount of money they're making now, but only work 4 days instead of 5, that might be enough to keep them in the district. So it's really all about recruitment and retention.
That sounds interesting, right, Kate?
How can they do it?
But what would the school year look like? Would they have
It's longer.
Do a little
And what is that?
But you still have to have hidden instructional minutes.
Yeah, and that's like 9 to 4 for,
Yeah, Bonner's Fair's done it for years.
There for 4 days.
yeah,
There's
they
no
did
other
it,
one.
they did it when the recession hit, they did it to save money, and then they tried to go back to 5 days in the community, so used to the 4 that they said, no, we don't want you to do that. So anyway, just so you know that that's out there, and
The STEM is the 4 days.
yeah, but we're not jumping on the bandwagons.
I'm curious what I'm curious what that's gonna do for their classified staff. I mean, if they're cutting,
They're gonna pay, I don't know, Brian said it's, what I think they're gonna do, he said you can't legally do that, so I don't know.
Well, they can have, I don't know, I've just had brief conversations, but Dina, the superintendent, wanted to keep people whole. That means, I don't know how they accomplish that, whether they just increase their pay so they're getting the same, whether they give them, doing other tasks at other times, I don't know. So that could be.
But they could figure out what the hourly rate would need to be, just be the same as and work 4 days instead. But the other thing that doesn't work for us is we have double routing. So that means our high school kids go 7:30 to 3:30 basically, or to 7:30 to 3, because I think they're adding 50 minutes in most calls. And then you wouldn't be able to pick our kids up, elementary kids up until 4, so elementary kids get out of school at 4. Now you've got little people walking home in the dark in the winter, and kids on a bus for an hour not getting home until 5 or later.
it's gonna be such a long day for the transportation department.
But basically, kids will leave when it's dark and they get home in the dark.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So not great, but I will tell you, we have teachers in the district who are asking, are we gonna go to a 4-day week because they like the idea of the 3-day weekend. And people are concerned that, we'll lose a bunch of really good teachers to Coeur d'Alene Post Falls, but if they retain their teachers because they're having a 4-day week, they won't have very many openings. So I lose a few teachers every year, but it won't be hundreds of them. So people are not gonna flee the district, but anyway, that's out there. So if people ask you, they're not going to a 4-day week next year.
Do substitute teachers I don't know if it's in Idaho or in this area, have to be certificated?
No, but thank you for bringing that up. That will help us with guest teachers on Fridays. We'll be the only district in session. We won't have to share that.
Fridays on
There you go.
No, you're.
Yeah, no, you have to have a high school diploma.
And breathe.
Pulse is good. We have really great guest teachers, and they are very dedicated people. They do a really good job, but we don't have enough of them. Okay, so we will wait until the next time we meet to put our formal proposal together to get to the board. How great.
We got a next date.
Well, the next date would have been the same day as the board meeting.
So we'll get some,
All it ends up is just a straw poll. Informal straw poll, right?
They're voting on it.
We said,
Ours will just be on I'll get you a big stack. Yeah.
Thanks again for dinner.